All the speakers ready?
Yes, I think we can start.
Should I start now?
Yeah, please.
All right. Hello everyone, I Leena Ahuja welcome you all on this beautiful morning to the webinar. Thank you for taking out your time today for the session. I am sure that you will get the leadership solutions of the problems you are facing in this crisis. The manufacturing industry is in a tough spot. With the dawn of the new age of manufacturing, with Industry 4.0, this sector needs to focus on the human capital now, more than ever before. According to research conducted by US Bureau of Labor, new employees in the manufacturing industry are only going to stay in one particular job for an average of 4.6 years. Clearly, training has to be a continuous process in the manufacturing segment now. The need to fill the skill gap quickly is one of the most pressing manufacturing training challenges, but it's not the only one on the list. Let's break these challenges down one by one and see how an LMS can help you solve them and safeguard the future of manufacturing. Before I move ahead, a quick intro to the companies. Excel Design Technologies is a leading distributor across Pan-India for manufacturing software solutions and e-learning platform. The expert team of Excel Design Technologies works with a vision to provide its customers the best software solutions. On the other hand, we have Skillsoft. Skillsoft is a global leader in corporate learning and is trusted by 65% of the Fortune 500 companies to train people. Our topic for today is empowering effective manufacturing leadership in today's time. And to know about the challenges and solutions, we have the expert, Mr. Nitin Bakle, the country head of Excel Design Technologies, who with his 9+ years of diverse experience and with his leadership and management skills, helps not only the organization, but also the customers to attain the heights. Next, we have with us Mr. Nahush Pandit, who is an experienced techno-commercial professional with a versatile people management skills and technology expertise, and with a comprehensive attitude figures out the challenges and establishes the strategies for outcomes. And Mr. Paras Raina. Paras has an immense experience in manufacturing domain, dealing with diverse engineering segments. Paras understands the customer needs and provides the strategic solutions to achieve the business outcomes. And that's me, Leena Ahuja, the moderator for today's session. Before I move ahead, there are some ground rules. Please keep your mic mute. If you have any questions, feel free to write them up in Q&A section. They will be answered in the end. And let's make this webinar engaging. So please keep putting your reviews in between. Okay, so now we have the agenda. We will hear from the experts today from where we are standing in this COVID situation. What are the current trends and situations, the core issues that the organization is facing, how we can keep up with the changes and solutions to the current challenges. Let's hear out from the first speaker, Mr. Nitin Bakle. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you very much, Lina, for a wonderful introduction. Good morning, guys. Welcome to today's session. My name is Nitin Bakle, and I'm here to take you through the imperatives of leadership changes and adoptions for any organizations. The global economy has gone for a toss amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Similarly, Indian economy is witnessing its steepest downturn since independence. India is operating in highly unstable environment due to pandemic. So the impact of COVID-19 on individuals and institutions is incomparable in 100 years. It is unmistakably impacting both individuals and institutions into a crisis, posing an unprecedented leadership challenge across the board. For some institutions, the crisis appears to be existential. For many others, it is an operational nightmare. And for some, it is a disruption. As per CII, the poll conducted by CII, almost of 200 CEOs across India, out of which 52% of respondent CEOs have anticipated job losses in their respective sectors. They have also anticipated a fall in revenue by approximately 20 to 30%. Other challenges that have been triggered by the pandemic are business continuity, low employee motivation, working remotely, and layoffs. So now, like COVID, crisis, and leadership. Okay, so it's one of the dangerous combination. So we all know there is no business playbook to deal with pandemic. A lot of things have been changed in past few months, and a lot will change in near future. And so does leadership should change. At the heart of managerial leadership is a strategy. So the word strategy itself comes from a Greek word called strategos. So the meaning of strategos in Greek is for a general. Now, as a leaders turn to the hard job of safely reopening their workplaces, salvaging and strengthening their businesses, and motivating their teams, they must lock in the lessons learned from the crisis and build a new management paradigm, one characterized by decisiveness, work side by side, agility, optimism, and inspiring communication to enhance work-life balance. However, we would all be wise to remember Eisenhower's helpful caution about strategy itself. I'll quote, "Plan means little, planning is everything." So uncertainty and complexity aren't going away for now in near future. Okay, and confusion will remain part of a mix. We all are facing that. The next 10 years will be exceptionally volatile with many make or break situation to be made. So the current coronavirus pandemic has abruptly reminded us how VUCA the future is. I hope you might have heard this term VUCA. So VUCA is a military term which stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. VUCA are the realities of today. And as noted by one of the author, Bob Johansen, he says, I'm quoting Bob Johansen's quote, "It won't be getting easier." I'll repeat again, it won't be getting easier. Leaders must accept this reality. The arrow seems to be coming from every direction. So we have problems from every direction, every side, every sector, every segment. I'm sure that like me, you too are searching for some insights to guide you to your unique way of engaging with turbulence without being consumed by negativity. There are a lot of negativity in ecosystem nowadays. So I have found a beacon in the stories of 4 real life crises. These are the 4, I will just quickly cover these 4 stories. These are the 4 inspiring stories about leadership. Each has a different dimension in terms of a time that was available to the leaders, the magnitude of impact, and the levers which were available to the leaders. If the leaders in this life and death situation could manage it, we in business surely can find insights from these experiences. Quickly, I will cover 4 stories which I thought will be very interesting for you guys. I'll start with the Sully. So I hope you might have seen a movie called Sully. So the protagonist in this, Chelsea Sullenberg, this is a real life event story. Chelsea Sullenberg, the captain of a US Airways flight 1549 with 155 passengers on board, had minutes to prevent a crisis engine failure from burst strike from becoming a disaster. He crash landed the plane in the Hudson River. This has not been done in history anytime. This was the first time any plane was crashed on any river. There's a movie based on this incident named Sully, featuring my favorite actor Tom Hanks. So I'll just quote one of the dialogue in this movie. I'm quoting it. "No one warned us. No one said you are going to lose 2 engines at lower altitude than any jet in history. This was dual engine loss at 2,800 feet, followed by an immediate water landing with 155 souls on board. No one has ever trained for an incident like that," unquote. So this "no one ever trained for an incident like that" was a quote from a Sully. In this quote, Captain Sullenberg explains the uniqueness of the situation that leads to choice to land a commercial aircraft in the Hudson River. This was Again, unprecedented even that no one ever has trained for or expected, in fact. Similarly, leaders are not trained for crisis. In fact, it pretty much shows how an individual can handle a crisis to become a leader. My next story is of a historic event, Apollo 13. I hope you all know Apollo 13 incident. The crew of Apollo 13 and their leader, including Captain James, on board the spacecraft with Jen Kranz, who was a mission director at NASA's Mission Control in Houston, had days to avert a disaster as oxygen tanks failed. I will cover a little more about these slides in my coming slides. So this historic event also picturized a movie called Apollo 13. And again, it was featuring my favorite actor, Tom Hanks. It's a must see. Yeah, this is the third incident which I would like to highlight. Ernest Shackleton. Ernest Shackleton, the polar explorer with 27 crew members, had days expanding into moments and then into years, while he fought to defy the disaster of all of them dying in desolate Antarctica. So day by day, month by month, and quarter by quarter, and eventually year by year, until his reformulated objective of saving all was achieved after full 3 years. Guys, can you imagine the kind of struggle, determination was having with Ernest Shackleton and his crew, which survived for almost 3 years in a desolate Antarctica. I will say this is one of the greatest example of a leadership at its best. And before we move into next slide, the name of the Ernest Shackleton ship was Endurance. How ironic this is. Yeah, so this is a recent example in modern history. During the 2008 financial crisis, Dick Full, the CEO of Lehman Brothers, he did not understand that saving the bank and not the valuation of the bank needed to be a core vision. He lost both. He lost the bank and as well as valuation also. However, if you compare that with the Citibank, Citibank survived. Citibank was prepared to shrink to survive and then bounce back later to grow again. Similarly, Nokia and Kodak failed because they were not prepared to reframe when technological environment was disrupted. Also, if you look at the global institution which rode through the 6 years of World War II and within 5 years bounced back to a greater strength. Yes, I'm talking about Germans and French. Who would have thought that German and French industry could survive the utter devastation of their economy, infrastructure, skill, technical talent, leadership and markets? Those were very difficult times for humanity during World War I, World War II. Recently, I just remember now, recently I've seen a movie called Schindler's List. It's a wonderful movie. It's also based on real events. The protagonist, Oscar Schindler, is a great example of a leader and taking charge during the crisis. It's a must-watch movie. I will repeat, Schindler's List. Yeah, so earlier we were talking about Apollo 13, and if we specifically talk about Apollo 13 mission in the middle of NASA's greatest challenge, there was a small incident which happened in the middle of NASA's greatest challenge at that point of time with the live moon mission going disastrously wrong. A 27-year-old junior team member raised his hand, spoke clearly and calmly in a room of a senior staff and directors. Gene Kranz, who was that time moon mission director, Gene Kranz immediately understood the ramification of what he was being told and instantly made a decision that ultimately saved the flight and the crew's life, all in real time in a crisis. Crisis leadership in NASA was built, reinforced and maintained over many years. It was the product of a trial and error, a product of trying new things, inventing new disciplines, new ways of working, new materials, all without many policies and procedures. It was building a culture. The NASA culture was a culture of innovation, support, training, pushing forward and giving people opportunity to try, permission to try things and see things fail. After nobody, the reason for this culture is after nobody had ever flown outside the Earth's orbit, and when the program started, and the goal was to go from the moon and back safely within 10 years. We can correlate this to how our ISRO has worked and made their culture under leadership of Vikram Sarabhai. ISRO has done an exemplary great job in last couple of decades in setting the right culture with wonderful leadership to emerge as one of the best space program centers globally. We are really grateful to the foundation team of space program, including Vikram Sarabhai, who is considered as a father of the Indian space program. And as a leader, it might not have been easy job for Vikram Sarabhai to lead in a crisis during the Cold War era with limited resources. I hope these stories have reciprocated the unmatched determination of leaders and gives us a glimpse of how to lead during crisis. I hope, guys, you're with me on this. As I said earlier, if the leaders in these whatever incidents I have covered, if the leaders in these life and death situation could manage it, we in business surely can find insights from their experience. Coming to the new normal, we know new normal what it is. We are experiencing it. We have a first-hand experience of a new normal. So, as per definition, new normal is a state to which an economy, society, etc. settles following a crisis. When this differs from the situation that prevailed prior to start of the crisis. So, this is a definition of a new normal. I don't know what to say, fortunate, unfortunate. We all have experienced this recently. So this term new normal, we have used this term new normal in our digital era a few times. A few of the incidents I would like to mention. It was during 2005 avian influenza, around 2008 financial crisis, and in fact during 2012 China's economic slowdown. So with new normal, we have new challenges as well. The rapid shift to remote work, what we call a work from home or telecommuting, it has brought in another challenges for organizations. Effective performance measurement, management and accountability are always a challenge for the people who telecommute, or in fact for all of us, because all of us are telecommuting nowadays, most of the people, most of the employees. In this suddenly almost exclusive virtual world where it's much easier for employee to become almost invisible, how can we recognize and reward great performance and also deal with the performance challenges? I hope you guys are with me on this. More than ever, leader must improvise to the needs of their business, their people, even though stresses in their own lives may have increased during the pandemic. We can see a lot of stress related incidents happening around us. Humanity is not used to adapt so soon to such conditions, and the corporate culture have its own set of challenges. Juggling the both worlds, personal and corporate world, while telecommuting may give rise to many emotional challenges. So my question is to you guys, what do you think, guys? Do a leader have any role to play in this while his company or team going through rapid emotional and mental shift? What an ideal leader should do? Any thoughts, guys? You can just put it on chat or you can ask question on this as well. So it's very important how our leaders are playing a role in this crisis. I hope, because we all are experiencing this, and I hope my thoughts are totally reciprocating everyone's current issues and a challenge for all, especially leaders. So after going through a few stories, few perspective on a new normal, few challenges, understanding few challenges on leadership, what do you think, guys? Are our new leaders ready for these challenges? Look, COVID has created a strong turbulence in environment. It has altered the equilibrium abruptly and dangerously. We all know that. Just as small analogy, like a ship caught in a raging storm and churning ocean, then the captain needs to shift focus immediately, make the ship calmer, reestablish equilibrium and alter course. He cannot get caught up with the end-term objective, that to reach the destination port. Of course, that's what we expect from a captain or leader, isn't it? Hello, guys, are you with me? So that's what we expect from leaders. In times like this, it is important for leaders to recognize and address both their own fears, anxieties, and the concerns of those around their organization. In the period of a crisis, leaders are judged by their decisiveness, risk-taking abilities, and when the crisis gradually gives away, leaders are judged by their follow-throughs, how they consolidate and how they bring their embattled army home. One more small analogy. Mountaineers would tell you that maximum fatalities occur not when you are climbing up the peak, but when you are coming down after the peaking. So, how many of you can reciprocate my thoughts and think that the CEO title should be Chief Empathy Officer? I'll repeat, CEO should be Chief Empathy Officer. I hope I'm right, guys. You can just again a chat or put a question on a chat box. In difficult times like today, it's a tricky to think about how you can move from addressing the needs of a now while preparing for the what comes next. But you can be sure of one thing: leaders in the future will need to have vision, understanding of clarity, and agility. So, what we have learned in our earlier slides regarding VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, we have just flipped the abbreviation of a VUCA to an optimistic approach. Yeah, so again, leaders, from are we ready or are leaders ready? From that, there was a good research by Aberdeen Group. So as per their research, they concluded that generally leaders are selected internally or within the organization, and the ratio is around somewhere 1:3. So they should be future ready for this role. They should have ability. So do you think are they developed enough to take these challenges? You can see around you, your managers, your peers, your management. Do you think are your leaders are developed enough to take these challenges to handle the crisis? In fact, study shows that every individual requires different time frame to learn or upskill. Have we considered this development implication while planning and setting up the learning culture in your company? Please just give a thought to this challenge. Are our leaders ready, or have we given a thought on the different time frame to learn or upskill for every individual? Have we considered the development implication while planning and setting up the learning culture? Yeah, so now when we are talking of upskilling, reskilling, I am a strong advocate that upskilling and reskilling must begin at the job. Normally what happens is what we have observed. Normally people do a lot of learnings for their fresher teams, their existing employee, but there are rarely any emphasis on learning or reskilling or upskilling for the management, for the top leaders. So I have a few reasons for that. I will just mention a couple of reasons why it should happen, why leaders should be upskilled and reskilled. So my first thought was, if we are upskilling or reskilling the leadership, the company or the organization will be future-proof. So I'll just elaborate it. The skills and the experience that get managers and business leaders to the top are often not enough for them to continue performing well for their roles. Market trends and technology are constantly evolving. New skills help combine their strong leadership acumen and experience with relevant knowledge, empowering them to innovate across products, people, and processes. So I hope you're with me on this. Like, if leaders are understanding new technology along with upskilling, reskilling, their leadership acumen and experience with relevant knowledge will help the company. My second thought is, like, if learning is happening to leadership team, it is a fostering an internal culture of a coaching. So we understand how our education system is. OK, so 65 just as a statistics, 61% of our higher education leaders in India believe the education system is unable to respond fast enough to change in the business ecosystem. And this only further emphasize the importance of on-the-job coaching and mentoring at the workplace. reskilling, and upskilling of key roles enable effective and on-job mentoring and coaching across team. Learning initiatives that start at the top also foster an environment of connected learning at a workplace and can increase employee skill preparedness by almost 28% to 38%. So this is another point. And one of the major points which I want to cover quickly is that learning or upskilling of leaders will enhance the advanced critical thinking capabilities of leaders. Training leaders in developing critical thinking skills enables them to analyze and understand the impact of their decision across the business, align the team with business goals, and build individual accountability. So this is very, very important to think critical. Okay, so these are the few of my thoughts, and I really emphasize everybody who are with us on this call that upskilling, reskilling should start at top. So strong leadership is critical to driving the business forward. But the reality is 84% of organizations are expecting a shortfall in leaders over the next 5 years. While leaders and managers are faced with immense challenges in today's complex and constantly changing digital workspace, they are also exposed to more opportunities than ever before. And this is a fact which we need to accept as well. There are a lot of opportunities now. The time is ripe for the organization to invest in upskilling their top line executives to prepare and empower them for the next decade of growth. And this is a very much imperative for any organization. I hope I have able to take you through a journey with some historical events and to make you understand and realize what are the importance of upskilling, reskilling, learning, especially to the people who are sitting at the top, to top leadership. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation and thank you very much for being with me. And over to you, Lina. Thank you very much.
Wow, it was a knowledgeable presentation, Nitin. How wonderfully you have explained that how we can lead in this crisis. You have clearly mentioned that about the skills gap and where there is a need for the leadership development. It is rightly said that change is the phenomenal truth, and to survive in this current scenario, this is much needed. We need to work on upskill ourselves and the organization. Now calling upon our next speaker, Mr. Nahush Pandit, who will be addressing the reasons to poor leadership and core issues that rises up with bad leadership. Dash is all yours, Nahush. Over to you.
Thank you, Lena. Thanks a lot. So, yeah, so to emphasize on Nitin's thoughts, like we can heal all these, leadership behavior issues, and it can be, fixed early. Okay, so we can also avoid all these future collateral damage which organization can face. So there are many, points like, there are a couple of main areas where we have to focus to take care of our leadership, issues. Like, let's say, the major one will be, you can see the resisting new ideas. So one is, if somebody is resisting the idea, so indirectly, the organization will experience a major, drawback on that. Like, let's say, there will be an impact on the work environment as well. So one part is that, and lacking energy and enthusiasm, that is again which hampers growth to the organization. So all these issues can be fixed in very, we have to be extra careful on this, and we have the solution which we'll be discussing later. But yeah, so the points what I would like to talk about is like, if individual is not able to upskill, or then we can see a lot of issues happening around us. Like, all these things can be joined, and it can be a ticking time bomb for an organization. So we have to take hold of this leadership skill real well and carefully. Okay, and all these flaws are directly affecting the organization's brand value as well as its growth. So we have to be extra careful. So what I've been seeing around, like we see a lot of clients, and especially in the current scenario as well as past, what they have been, leadership is one of the most important aspect which they want to focus on, because there's a lot of haywire happening out in that domain. So manufacturing, again, it's a different ball game out there. So we will talk about that in the coming up slides. So you can see the cost of poor leadership that can be extremely, it can be significant. Your revenue is impacted, the leaders they fail, and the entire projection can go negative due to major neglect on the learning curve. So we have to see that our learning curve is maintained well. So, and the most important thing is, like, business, they never fail, but yeah, leaders, they do. So we have to take care of that as well. So this is one part of it which I would like to convey to you all. And talking about the manufacturing part, there are like many key areas, because here this is a total different ball game over here. There are many minute issues what we need to focus on, and uh, each and every issues, they can lead to a different what do we say, yeah. So let's say we pick talent. Now, retaining the top talent is kind of tricky in the competitive environment these days. And talking about leadership, like first time manager training for employees, transition, all that thing, and to gain confidence for them, that also becomes a challenging part, and it impacts a lot. And talking about quality control and all this, now, as we know, managing quality control can be tedious to implement, because micro monitoring is usually the key role, right? So that which we have to take care of. Then something now which is very popular, lean manufacturing, because of cost effectiveness. Again, this issues can have various hurdles. So all this thing can be taken care of. So one of the important part, again, I would like to highlight is the compliance. So stringent compliance, should be maintained, and it should be made mandatory to the entire workforce. Through this, we can, educate or follow some protocols within the organization, and it can be streamlined. So these are the main core areas which we have seen in the manufacturing industry, where most of the leaders, they end up in a haywire. So we have, again, to top it up with it, we have the pandemic, which has again created a big stir. So to address all these hurdles, we see that the learning and upskilling is the solution. And as you all know, that one should never stop learning. And yeah, you have to take baby step to get into this, or you have to convey the leaders so that this is it. This is the step for you to take it forward. And let's see now in the coming uh, we have a lot of technologies, like cutting edge technologies for learning. So I think Paris will explain it way much better, how our new technology, or the solution what we are going to provide, how it will help our leaders in their future. Okay, so over to you, Paris.
Thank you very much, Naush. And let me quickly share my screen first, and just let me know if my content is visible to all of you. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Now, just a quick confirmation will help.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much again, everyone, for joining us today, and a very good morning and afternoon to us all. We are just in the middle. So I'm very glad that you were all be able to make with us today in this webinar. And I would just be elaborating to what Nitin and Nahuj just pointed out for some of the core challenges that are there prevalent in the industry today, especially in the manufacturing. Before just going ahead, I would like to talk about a little bit about myself and why I'm here. So my name is Paras Raina, and I take care for customer success and channel management at Excel Design Technologies. And I've been working with a variety of different, quite a lot of diverse engineering domains across my years of experience in the industry. And I just thought maybe I could talk about a little on how we can really help our customers and all of us who are there in the webinar today to get through the current rifts. How can we successfully enable our teams along all of those roadblocks and get through these situations? So I'll be very quick to share all of the information with you all and how it can really help you all along the lines of what's already been talked about, and more importantly, to give you a particular solution. So before actually jumping in and to talk about what specifically there's in it for us, we need to especially know the core message that was already pointed out by Nitin and Nahush was that, in the current pandemic, there's been change in the way we work. We received a few questions, and we understand that it's very difficult to manage our teams remotely, and to be able to manage everything and all of these things together. We are there apart geographically, and we do not know when we'll be able to group together and work together. So how it used to be earlier is that the best of us would be the leader, and a single person would be able to manage the entire teams. It's kind of like siloed, what Nitin already talked about. But with the COVID, we have been geographically apart. We are not working together. We are working on remote. Many of us are there at home, and this is just to ensure the safety of ours, our families, and our customers. So the focus on leadership is more than important than ever now. It's very important, but unfortunately, I have to say this, but it is there. Many of the leaders fail during these times. And why is it that they are failing? One thing is that all of the organization, they expect from each of the leader to even lead during these situations, but they don't get the productivity or the engagement that they look for, right? So, it is just coming from the University of Arizona that was done a few years ago. Interestingly enough, they talked about a few skills which are very important, and they talked about safety and managing your teams properly. And this is now prevalent, especially in the COVID now. So what behaviors and the skills are important, and how we can really enable ourselves and our team to go through and to learn those skills. Those are something that our solutions really very well provide, and I'm going to talk about them in just a moment with all of you. And I just had a few information that I was recently going through some of the places on the internet, and this was coming from HBR Harvard Business Review, and they say that emphasis on communication and rapid decision making is very important. There are certain behaviors that really help the leaders to manage the crisis that we are in right now. Then Wall Street Journal also posts some of the areas, particularly on the communication and the intelligence and the adaptability and agility of the leaders. That is very important, and that helps all of us, especially the leaders, to manage the things which are unexpected. And again, with Gartner as well, they emphasize on prioritization, innovation, and storytelling. And these are some of the important things that we need to learn, that our leaders need to learn to effectively lead their teams, to effectively take all of us through these times and then come out of it on the top. So this matters more than important now. Why does this matter to you? I'm very sure that the message is clear until now. We know that these skills can take us on hold early on, and then, but these opportunities are really important. Learning these things are really important. But as said earlier, it's very difficult to do all of the conventional instructor-led trainings in the typical environment that we have been used to until now. Today, it is very difficult. So we are going through a perfect change. There's global health crisis that's going on. We really do not know when it will be curbed. There's this economic uncertainty going all across. And these all of the things are making it very difficult for all of us. And that's why we have to make the change. We have to be more digital now. And we have to ensure that our teams are also led through all this. They are enabled for these times so that they can stay in the track, and they can work effectively and they can stay on top. All of the HR and leaders and L&D managers that I've been talking about, they say that they are facing so many difficulties, but they are trying their level best to ensure that everybody is trained. But this has left so much impact there. So leaders have to build these skills. We have to ensure that our digital skills are there, our collaboration, virtual leadership skills have to be there. Earlier, it was only related to IT companies. IT companies used to work outside of their offices as well. But now it's with all of us working remotely, it just relegated to all of us as well. So let me just come back to the solution now. So what's the solution? I'm very proud and excited to present to you all that we have partnered, Excel Design Technologies have partnered with Skillsoft, which is a leader in learning industry, and they have been there in the industry since last 3 decades. And particularly for all of our customers, because we have also been in the manufacturing, and we know that it's important for all of the industry to go through these times effectively today and to enable their teams so that they can effectively engineer the products and they can effectively bring out new innovative products to the market. Skillsoft has more than 500 manufacturing customers, and every year they train more than 1 million employees across the globe. And with all of the trainings, it's important that all of our employees, especially which are into engineering and manufacturing, they have to ensure the faster development cycles, keep the improvements continuous in terms of cost, quality, speed, and innovation. And these expectations ultimately increase the demand of collaborations as well, because many of us are working from home, and we need to apply all of the knowledge that we have, but also need to have those skills which we were not aware of. So we need to improve upon ourselves as well. And that's where Skillsoft really helps. So Skillsoft, with all of our content, with our Skillsoft content, learners see improvement in the customer satisfaction. More than 50% of the learners respond that their quality of work gets improved because of the resources on the job, because of deploying these resources on the job. And many of the companies, largest companies in the Fortune 500 and many others, are using Skillsoft's content for training their teams. So what exactly is in there for you, and how do we do all that? That is possible with our enterprise grade learning solutions. So with our solution, we cover the breadth and width of all of the areas and all of the places which are actually needed. So there's this modern learning platform that's designed to inspire and motivate the learners, to engage them. And basically every leader that I've been talking to recently, in the past couple of months, they say that it's more than about totality now. It's not only about having the right communication skills or maybe the leadership skills. It's about leading with your technology, digital, business, productivity, all of these skills together. So individuals have to be very well all-rounded. It's not good to be specialized on only one skill, and we just have to ensure that we develop on other skills as well. And that's where our solution comes in. It basically offers you a humongous library, humongous content solutions in terms of different areas, be it leadership, be it your professional development, skill development, and the technology skills, productivity skills, all of those. And we have been curating all of the content from our side. So, it's very unique in nature, and I'm sure that once all of you would probably get a chance to go through it, and someday all of you would understand, the curation and the reason why Skillsoft is the leader in the market. So I would just come to some of the areas as well, in particular, when we talk about any of the learners' day in the work, in the job. So they have to practice much of the content. They consume some of the content from the internet now, and some of us take trainings online. But with our solution, there's the curation that's done at every aspect. So you would have some of the videos that the employees can go upon and train themselves. There is this role-based learning that they can go through at some time. There are cohort sessions and then practice sessions as well. And then they can go through some assessments, and the managers can actually understand if the gaps are being filled in. And the best part is the entire thing is going through an instructional based design. So we have kept a science behind it, and that's how the content has been designed. It's not instructional based, but rather it's instructional design, and that's very unique. So if we go through some content on YouTube or any other open source platform, it's more like they are giving instructions, but they are not really instructional based. So if you go through the unique content nature that we provide, and it's curated, so you will see that there's so many things in terms of engagement of the learners and instructions that they get to know while they are going through each and every course. And that's also prevalent in the leadership content as well that we provide in all of the manufacturing courses as well. So there is this targeted content that we have, a specialized content that really helps us in the manufacturing domain. That is in terms of project management, Six Sigma, compliance, and some of the data security. Security is also a concern. It's very important. And the cyber attacks are increasing day by day across the globe. And it's very important that we maintain our data security. And that's where all of these things help to retain our data intelligence and also ensure that our team works in the best way possible, even while they are remotely. And then there is this general content, especially the leadership content and productivity content that's there. Especially, we have curated some of the content that helps us to lead in these times. So there is content for leading ourselves, leading our teams, and leading our businesses as well. And these skills are really needed to demonstrate when we are not there. We have to ensure of our presence even while we are working on remote. We have to build our teams through these skills. They are really important, and they have all been covered through our solution. And there's this very important thing. It's not built altogether in-house. This is coming in partnership with MIT SMR, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And this Skills of Leadership program includes just all of the lectures from the professors who have developed specific content from MIT SMR. And they also have been publishing quite a lot of quality papers that are very timely and contextual and provide variety of different insights on which leaders and managers are the skills which are needed in today's world to be actually successful. So leaders are actually very lonely at the top. We understand, in fact, going through in our organization as well, our team works, in the independent locations we have. We are generally sometimes very lonely, but we have to ensure that we have diverse perspectives. And with those diverse perspectives, we have to ensure that we work properly. So to get those skills, we either get those from the community or from some international experience. But then with our solution, anybody who's even sitting at his office or at his home, he can get those values, and he can get to know those skills from all of the leaders which join us globally during many of the programs that we hold in our platform. So we hold many of the live leader camps, boot camps in our platform, and they are there for anyone to go through. So they can just join and be at home and just go through those experiences and be able to learn how to effectively lead during these times. So there's all this content, and especially there's a compliance related part as well. So we have taken care of our safety as well in this pandemic. So there's environment safety content, there's content for ensuring that in these infections and our teams are properly managed. This pandemic preparedness have to be there. The education have to be there for all of this. So all of this compliance related content, so that once we come back to our workplaces, we ensure that we know how to be safe by ourselves, and how to ensure the safety of the people that are working around us. We have covered more than 500 different risk areas, and all of these brings all of the content together and ensures that there's a complete solution for all of the skills required. Lastly, I would just want to talk about the core journey. So we have something called Aspire Journeys, which is built and specifically tailored for the leadership programs. So these journeys are again coming from MIT SMR, and it introduces on variety of different paths, on variety of different ways. So they are designed with a clear path to leadership. They have given a logical track where people can just apply it on the job while they are working. And there are so many things, so many expert insights, so many articles, so many things within the whole Aspire journey that all of us can just get started with each one of them. And there's no need to do any administrative tasks and to put all of this together, particularly for the L&D people, for all of the people who are responsible for the training programs, curation of this content. They don't have to be doing all of that in our solution. It is all there. And that is available for a variety of different levels. So when we talk about our Aspire journeys, they are there for the first-time managers, for the mid-level managers, and the leaders as well. Particularly, I'm talking about the directors or CXOs. They have to be in a strategic culture. They have to be agile, and they have to foster those skills. And these Aspire journeys would just build on those areas as well, and they give some very critical insights on why these things are important. So I really understand that we have an aging structure in India. Many of our leaders, especially if they are in 55 to 74 age group. Mercer and Accenture recently did a study, and they found out that in this age group, there are increments in the leaders that are increasing every year by 4%. So by year on year. So there are leaders which are aged more than 74, and that's increasing by more than 2.6%. And with all of the leaders, when they are going out of the pipeline, so they are leaving out of their jobs, or maybe they are leaving out of their responsibilities. So it is us, the younger generation, who have to fill in their shoes, and we have to ensure that we keep up with the same amount of expectations that they have been doing. But the pipeline is not there. So Aberdeen Group did a study there, and they found out that most of the positions organizations could fill in was only out of one times out of every three. So basically, every three leaders that quit or that are not available for a certain time, we could fill in only one time. So we have to prepare the leaders from our side, and we have to ensure that the development is there. And that's even more compounded now because of the COVID situation. Our travel is restricted, and our leadership is now growing on. So we have to ensure that we are upscaling our newer generation so that they are ready for these skills. And the skills that are there in our Aspire journeys really help to build on those first level managerial skills, and then transition on to the mid-level managers, and then ultimately they would be able to catch up to the most higher leadership position as well. And these learning paths all have curated videos, many articles, as I talked about earlier, some insight videos, one of the best-selling books from MIT, and many of the top-notch content from across the industry. And thus, all of this would really help to apply all of these skills on the job, and thus be able to, go on and be able to collaborate effectively and work remotely in a much better manner. So all of this gives learners the right confidence so that they can just go on and learn by their own. And this also simplifies the task of the administrator. So you do not have to worry about curation, because that's all been done for you, and you can trust on the curation and the patch that we have provided in our content. So that is already done for all of us, and this is something that every leader needs nowadays, and it just broadens our choice and our skill repository. And it's just very important. So how to be agile, how to be responsive, how to work remotely, how to work in this normal, all of those skills are completely defined. And I would just like to point out one important fact here at this point, that our platform also, our solution really offers all of the kind of knowledge that the engineering industry, that the manufacturing industry needs. So that is there in terms of all of the content, or even in terms of books as well. There's a growing library that covers more than 15,000 books. So it serves a complete e-library on the platform, and that really helps us to access anything at anywhere at any time. So with all of the complete offerings and the solutions, we help all of the leaders to keep up to the pace with today's change and enhance their mindset, to develop on the critical strengths which are really needed to lead in these times. So I hope all of this that I talked about really made sense to each and everyone. And if there is any question, you can just put it up on the Q&A box that's just located up on the top, and you would be happy to answer those questions, or maybe we can connect later as well. And with that, I would just like to close on a positive note that our future is very hopeful, and I'm being optimistic. I always be optimistic, and I always try to be in a positive state of mind. And I know that our country is one of the most digitally dexterous country. So Gartner also did a study recently, and they ranked some of the top countries in the world, and India was the most digitally dexterous. And we have the growth mindset here. All of us have a desire to learn. And all of our organizations are modern. We are switching to the digital. We are getting those transformation in. So with all of that, our learning has to be digital. And in these times, it's important and it's easy for all of us. It becomes easy for all of us to manage our teams learning and our teams upscaling. And that is how Skillsoft solutions really help us to grow on all of the skills further. So with today's discussion, today's seminar, I would just like to really point out some of the key takeaways here, that our content, the solutions that we have some of the best content in the industry from MIT, SMR. There is the complete offering, which is not just limited to leadership, but a variety of different skills which are needed for all of our employees, be it in terms of professional development, skill development, productivity, collaboration, technology, all of those things. And there is a complete modern platform that's the enterprise grade solution, and that helps us to learn in the flow of work. So we can just step in and learn anything with different courseware, and there are lots of different assets which are provided there to help us learn all of the content. So I hope the entire explanation, all of the things really make sense to everyone. And if there is any question, I would be happy to take them on. During this time, you can put them up on the chat box. And if there is anything that anyone would like to reach back to us for, you can just reach out on the coordinates.